afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the press conference post the Central Board meeting today. Today we have with us Honorable Finance Minister Shri Nirmala Sitharaman, Minister of State Dr. Bharat Karach, Minister of State Shri Chaudhary, and respected Governor Shri Shaktikanta, along with our Deputy Governors. I welcome all of you for this press conference. Sir, would you like to indicate the names? Or
no,
I'll follow?
Yeah.
Sir. So,
I think
with your permission, we'll start the. So, first of all, I'll call out Ms. Shri Shaktikanta, Economic Times.
My question to Governor. Sir, in the budget speech, FM has mentioned, a para on financial sector, which includes prior pre-consultation and also setting timelines for regulatory applications. What does this mean for RBI? What would it entail?
No, as you may be aware that most of our, am I audible? Yes. Yeah. Whenever any new policy measure is taken, any new regulatory guideline or any other announcement is made in the made by the Reserve Bank, the budget suggests that Reserve Bank, or for that matter measures taken by other financial sector regulators, there has to be some amount of advanced consultation with the stakeholders. Already we do consult. It's not as if consultations do not happen. And if you recall, even in the last monetary policy announcement, we have made an announcement relating to penal interests. There also we are issuing a draft circular. We are not issuing the final circular because we want the views of the stakeholders, namely the regulated entities, the banks, and also any other stakeholder, any player in the financial sector or in the market, any member of the public to give suggestions. So we are already doing it. But there are certain announcements, which are of strategic nature, which have got some arbitrage and other issues involved. So what the budget speech is that wherever feasible, it should be done, and I think that is something which is partly being done, and it will be done going forward. And so it brings in that perspectives. The need for after issuance of a circular, the need for corrections or amendments will get significantly reduced. But already we are consulting on quite a number of cases. There is advanced consultation. What we do is that we sometimes we also launch announce a discussion paper. We circulate a discussion paper. For example, this climate related steps which we have announced in the last monetary policy statement. Last year, in July or August, we had issued a discussion paper on climate change and its impact on the financial sector. So based on the discussion paper and the inputs which we have received, we have announced 3 measures, and other measures will follow. Yeah, timeline, we already, we have, wherever timelines are not there, timelines will be prescribed. The main difficulty that we face is that, wherever there is an application by let us say to start a bank or to start an NBFC or to become a payment system aggregator, we have to do what is called a fit and proper check, a check of fit and proper criteria. That requires consultation with, supposing the particular applicant has a particular business interest, he has been in a certain business or he has worked elsewhere. So we need to get inputs from the regulators, the various regulators and various agencies within the country, and if he has had an external presence, we have to get inputs from the regulators or from the various agencies in that country. Now that takes time. We do remind the regulators or the other agencies in foreign countries to get their inputs. That takes time, and that is a process which we constantly try to impress upon the other country regulators. So it will be our endeavor to adhere to the timelines, but sometimes there is delay mainly because we don't get the inputs from, particularly from overseas regulators and agencies from whom we need to get the required information.
Thank you, sir. I'll move on to Ms. Sapna Raj from CNBC TVT. Just pause it.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Two questions. First, to the governor, sir. In the MPC for FY24, you're projecting inflation at 5.3%. Have you factored in crude at around 95 odd to a dollar, slightly lower than the $100 benchmark that you had kept last year? So, is that a safe number to go with, given the geopolitical risks? Just yesterday or day before, Russia again has cut output by around 2 lakh barrels per day, for instance. Second, sir, so far there has been a price freeze on retail prices of fuel, petrol and diesel. So far, whenever the projections have been made, you have done it sans that impact. And in case in the coming time, we don't know when, if the price freeze goes away, depending on the international projections, whatever the market prices. So how do you see that trajectory impacting your inflation? That's one. Second, ma'am, a slightly different question, ma'am. SC has raised concerns on the Hindenburg Adani matter. The apex court has suggested that the framework, the investor framework, may have to be relooked with the finance and SEBI as a regulator. Also, there could be some corporate governance issues that need to be addressed. So, how would you look at this scenario? Your assessment. You have also made some comments earlier as well. Thank you very much.
Well, one request that don't make it into a RBI post-monetary policy press conference. But on the oil assumption, we have assumed, yes, $95 per barrel. The average this year has been $93 per barrel. Starting from the beginning of the year, when immediately after the beginning of the war in Europe, the oil prices even crossed $120 per barrel. So the average is about $93. And all factors have been taken into consideration. The forward markets are giving a much more benign picture with regard to the oil prices, but we have been very conservative in our assessment, and our inflation projection of 5.3% for the whole year 23-24, we have said that the risks are evenly balanced. So if the oil prices remain, go down significantly, and if there is advantage of other commodity prices, it will work, to our favor in terms of leading to lower inflation. But if the demand for oil due to opening up of the countries and due to the higher growth in other countries, then the oil, the commodity prices may go up. But having said that, I would like to add that as I have said in my statement the other day, that the global economic outlook does not look as grim as it did, let's say, about 6 months ago. The talk of a deep recession in many countries, including advanced countries, that is behind us. Now, the talk around the world is either a softer recession or just a global slowdown. So, therefore, the risks are evenly balanced. We have to wait and see how it plays out.
Sapna, I'd like to ask you to repeat your question.
The apex court's observations on the Hindenburg matter, the report and analysis, they have suggested saying that, along with the government, please come up with a possibly better framework for investor protection, also looking at corporate governance issues, and they have also suggested that an expert committee may be set up to look into this entire matter. Ma'am, your assessment as we go forward.
Obviously, you're not expecting me to say to you or to this gathering of senior journalists what I will be saying in the court. Yeah? One. And second, India's regulators, and I'm sitting in the company of a very senior regulator, one of the oldest regulators in this country. India's regulators are very, very experienced. And they are experts in their domain. So the regulators are fairly seized of this matter, and they are on their toes, as always, not just now. So I would leave it there, because you've just told me what has come out this morning. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll move on to Mr. Siddharth Singh from Bloomberg.
Ma'am, good morning. Just wanted to ask you, ma'am, you brought a new scheme.
Mike, take the mic.
You brought a new scheme for income tax exemption up to 7 lakhs. So I was just wondering, ma'am, don't you think that class of people are the most vulnerable class? So who would need to be pushed to be savers or look for a health insurance instead of just giving them that kind of a tax rate and allowing them to retain that money?
What has this new step taken for the new tax regime which was brought in 2 years ago done effectively? It is effectively because of the way we've allowed for standard deduction and also the rates which have been fixed, tax rates which have been fixed for different slabs. What exactly has it done? It has actually left more money in the hands of the people, the taxpayer, right? The householder. So over and above what he pays as tax, the money left in his hands are for him to decide what he wants to do with it. Why should I underestimate the decision-making ability of a householder who takes care of his family, runs his family, takes care of future interests of the household, saying you put your money here, I'll incentivize you to do it, but you may not want to put it there because I've not given incentive. Absolutely, I don't think it is necessary for the government to even induce any such measures or give inducements. A person who earns his money and who runs his household is wise enough to know where he has to put his money. He'll save, he'll cover with insurances himself and his family and everything else. That's up to him to make. So I've not discouraged him from doing anything. Nor am I, let's say, in the new regime, incentivizing him to do anything in particular. It's for him to take a call.
Thank you. I'll move on to Mr. Siddharth Kumar, Times of India.
Ma'am, there's this new credit information mechanism that you've proposed, and since both of you, RBI and government, are here, if you could just help us understand if things like, is it just for corporates or is it also going to extend to individuals in the future?
You see, the bill is under preparation and it is under discussion. It is under, between the regulators and the government. A lot of discussion has happened, which led to the announcement in the budget. I think the draft bill is getting ready. It will be introduced, of course, that is something which the government will decide, but the draft bill is getting ready and it should be getting finalized soon. And basically the idea is to quicken the process of credit sanction and credit flow to the borrowers. Lot of information is required by a bank before a loan is sanctioned. The idea is to create one registry where, to the extent possible, considering issues of privacy and other things, and to the extent possible, the idea is to provide a 360-degree kind of information system which will be readily available to the lending institutions to ensure that it quickens the process of credit flow. That's a broad objective. Rest of the details of the bill, it will not be proper for me to spell out because it is under discussion. The bill will get finalized and it has to be first introduced in the Parliament.
Thank you, sir. Anirudh Sharma, Dainik Bhaskar. Then we'll move on to Mr. Lakshman Rao, CNBC Awas.
Thank you, sir, for your question. Answer what you got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move on to Mr. Shishir Sinha, the Business Line.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Sir, my question to you, sir, Governor, sir. Since we have seen successive rate hikes, and that is also impacting home loan buyers, or home buyers, because their EMI have gone up, and it is also affecting demand in the real estate sector. So what is your assessment on this thing, sir?
No, assessment on?
The EMI have gone up, and also the home loan demand, home demand for new homes are also coming down. So what is your assessment because of the successive rate hikes?
No, please keep in mind that I think the interest rates have just moved into the positive territory. We had negative interest rates for the last 3 years, and persistent, the continuation of negative interest rates for far too long can create instability in the financial system. So the interest rates have just now moved into the positive territory. Negative interest rates for a long time has a lot of risks which have to be avoided. Second thing is that there is also, when interest rates are rising, there is also somebody called the depositor. His interest has to be taken into account. But the larger point is that we are mandated under the law to maintain price stability, which is an important component of financial stability. And as a part of price stability requirements, the Monetary Policy Committee is taking various decisions, and our interest rate increase is a part of that process. The rest of it, the deposit rates, the lending rates, as you are aware, they are all deregulated, and it is left to the banks to decide their rates. Market competition will decide what should be the rate, both in the deposit side as well as in the lending side.
Thank you, sir. Siddharth, firstly, information. Yeah, please.
Hi, Siddharth from Money Controller. This is for both the governor and ma'am. This regarding the new income tax regime. Some people, like you said, it's not up to the government to decide whether the person should spend or save. Assuming they spend more, could that lead to a greater mismatch between savings and investments, which could perhaps widen the current account, India's current account or balance of payments deficit?
Would you like to income tax or something?
No, I will certainly say. On the one hand, there are people, even in your fraternity, who tell me that I've done this to pep up consumption. On the other, there are some among yours who say that this might hurt saving and therefore investments. A simple step towards giving more money in the hands of particularly the middle class, particularly the income brackets that I've covered, in order that they decide how they want to use it. And rightly, I'm not blaming anybody here, just leads to a lot of inference. Each according to his inference, a certain opinion gets generated. This measure of government was purely to reduce the tax burden on the middle class and to make sure that the promise which was given earlier, a couple of years ago, which got delayed because of the COVID and other reasons, that we will simplify the direct taxation, not only just simplify for compliance sake, but also reduce the rate so that it doesn't become a burden, tax doesn't become a burden on the shoulders of particularly the middle class. That's where it is.
Thank you, ma'am.
And on the balance of payments, I think I have touched upon it in my monetary policy statement, wherein I have said that the BOP situation, particularly the current account deficit, the financing of the current account deficit or the management of the external sector, it's eminently manageable because the service exports are doing extremely well. The remittances have gone up. In fact, remittances are something like 27% as per the growth in remittances is 27% as per the latest data. And merchandise exports, there is a talk that it is moderating. Yes, there has been some amount of moderation, but I think the annual target of 400 billion seems to be very much getting achieved by the time we reach 31st March. So the balance of payment situation is eminently manageable.
And with your permission, last two questions. Yeah. Asit Ranjan.
Good afternoon, sir. After the budget, ma'am, in one of the interviews you had said that the inflation decline is not momentary and RBI shouldn't be under pressure to continue increasing interest rates. but obviously the...
Oh, did I use these words?
I'll read it out.
Yeah, it might benefit me. Quote me.
You said when the question was asked whether RBI can take a more relaxed view on monetary tightening, you said, I suppose yes. The fall in the inflation doesn't seem to be just a momentary or 1 month affair. It should sustain itself in the process of coming down, and therefore there shouldn't be that much pressure on the central bank to keep the pace of increasing the rates, but the MPC will take a call.
Lots more words in it, right, than what you brought it down in a reductionist fashion.
Yeah. So with that background, ma'am, how did the discussions went in the meeting? And
even without that background, it went on very well.
and is there a divergence in the view of government and RBI on the rate cycle trajectory?
I want to ask you, in the last, let's say, 4-5 years, has there been divergence ever between the RBI and the Ministry of
We
Finance?
didn't know it. It seems like for the first time it's happening.
I'm asking you, did you see anything in the last 5 years?
First time it seems it's happening.
First time it's happening now. Who gave you the information?
I'm asking, ma'am.
Thank you. Shailesh from ANA.
मैम, इस बजट में जो है क्रिप्टो करेंसी को लेके कुछ कोई जिक्र नहीं किया गया है, तो इस पे रेगुलेशन वगैरह की बात चल रही थी, उस पे कुछ अपडेट है क्या, कब तक इस पे रेगुलेशन वगैरह आ सकता है?
नहीं, बिल्कुल आप एक विषय जोड़िए ना, बजट में कुछ नहीं कहा गया इस बार, हाँ? इससे पहले एक बार शायद मैंने कुछ बोला है, उससे हट करके या अलग से कुछ तब से लेकर अब तक कुछ नहीं बोला गया। मगर इससे एक विषय जोड़िए, G20 में जो चर्चा हमारी चल रही है, क्योंकि क्रिप्टो में टेक्नोलॉजी का प्ले ज्यादा है, इनफैक्ट 99% वो ह्यूमन नहीं इंटरेक्शन टेक्नोलॉजी का, उसमें हम सभी देशों से बात कर रहे हैं कि रेगुलेशन अगर होना है तो एक अलग देश अकेला कुछ कर नहीं सकते, इसीलिए सबके साथ बात कर रहे हैं क्या कुछ स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर हम बन पाएंगे, जिससे अगर सब लोग उसके रास्ते पे चलते हुए एक रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क हम बना देते हैं, हम इफेक्टिव रह पाएंगे। सो ये सब चर्चा में विषय है, इसीलिए कुछ नयापन नहीं है जो मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ हमारे बजट में, इसीलिए नहीं बोला, और G20 के साथ चर्चा अभी जारी है, इसीलिए कुछ नया बोलने का नहीं है।
धन्यवाद। Friends, with this we come to the end of today's press conference. Thank you, Honorable Finance Minister, Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Karan, Shri Chaudhary, and Governor. Thank you all for being here. Have a good